And there was an outburst in the courtroom this morning as closing arguments were being heard in the triple murder trial of a member of the Hells Angel motorcycle club. The Hells Angels are infamous for their outlaw lifestyle, but some members stand out as the most dangerous figures in the club's history. These 13 individuals left a significant footprint of chaos, fear, and violence. The Hells Angels is a criminal gang under state law. Now, that means a court case involving a freeway shooting, from ruthless enforcers to cunning masterminds. Their stories reveal the darker side of this notorious gang. Who are they, and what made them so feared? Join us as we uncover the chilling legacies of these Hells Angels. Number 13. Revered. 16 members of the Hells Angels are facing federal charges. Walter Stmik may have been only 5 feet 4 inches tall, but his name became linked to a bloody path of violence that led to the loss of over 150 lives. Born Volodymyr Stmik on August 3, 1952, in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, he grew up in a working-class neighborhood. Despite being smart, he was also rebellious. As a teenager, he was known for selling drugs at his high school, earning the nickname Revered, though no one knows exactly why. His early years of petty crime paved the way for his future in organized crime. In the late 1960s, Stmik joined the Cossacks, a local biker gang in Hamilton, and quickly gained a reputation. By the late 1970s, he had moved on to the Wild Ones motorcycle club in Montreal. But it was his connection to the Hells Angels that truly made him a key figure in Canada's biker world. He joined their Montreal chapter in 1982 and quickly rose through the ranks because of his sharp planning skills and ability to form alliances. Stmik played a major role in spreading the Hells Angels' power across Canada. He helped set up chapters nationwide, turning the club into the most powerful outlaw biker gang in the country. His leadership saw violent turf wars, including the brutal Quebec Biker War in the 1990s, where rival gangs fought over territories. In 2004, the law finally caught up with him. He was convicted of conspiracy to end lives, illicit substance trafficking, and gangsterism, leading to a 20-year prison sentence. His arrest was a huge hit to the Hells Angels in Canada, showing how far law enforcement had reached into organized crime. After serving part of his sentence, Stmik was released on parole in 2014. Since then, he has stayed out of the spotlight, and little is known about what he does now. If Stmik's bloody tactics left you shaken, wait until you hear about David Carroll, whose disappearance only added to his chilling legacy. Number 12. Wolf. David Wolf. Carroll grew up in a working-class family in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada, and had an ordinary childhood. But as a teenager, he was drawn to the biker world, attracted by the sense of brotherhood and rebellion. Over time, his small crimes turned into more serious ones, leading him deeper into organized crime. In the early 1980s, Carroll joined the Hells Angels, becoming part of the Halifax chapter. His sharp mind and strategic thinking made him stand out, and by the mid-1990s, he had climbed to the elite Nomads chapter in Quebec. During his time with the Hells Angels, he played a major role in the Quebec Biker War, a violent battle between the Hells Angels and the Rock Machine over territories from 1994 to 2002. In this war, there were cases of bombings, shootings, and the loss of a lot of lives, and Carroll was named as the strategist who had planned most of these attacks. His criminal record includes a conviction in 1986 for living off the earnings of trafficking, which led to a 1-year prison sentence. In March 2001, with 13 counts for taking people's lives, Carroll disappeared. He was last seen in Ixtapa, Mexico. Despite worldwide efforts to find him, including an Interpol red notice, he has never been caught. Some believe he may have escaped to countries like Brazil or Australia, where the Hells Angels have a strong presence, but no proof has ever surfaced. Today, David Wolf Carroll remains a fugitive. His disappearance is one of the biggest mysteries in organized crime, showing how hard it can be to catch high-ranking criminals. Whether he is alive or dead is unknown, but law enforcement continues to search for any clues about his fate. His life is a reminder of the dangers of the outlaw biker world and the extremes criminals will go to avoid justice. If you thought David Carroll was ruthless, Brace yourself because the next Hell's Angel we are about to reveal redefined fear itself in the world of the Hell's Angels. Number 11. Mom. Born on June 21, 1953, in Courseulles, Quebec, Canada, Maurice Boucher grew up in a poor family that struggled to get by. As a young man, he was drawn to the tough streets of Montreal, where crime seemed like his only way out. He started with small thefts and drug use, but over time his crimes became more serious. Boucher joined the Hells Angels in the early 1980s, becoming part of the Montreal chapter. He quickly earned a reputation for being fearless and ruthless, which helped him rise through the ranks. By the mid-1990s, he became the leader of the Quebec Nomads, an elite branch of the Hells Angels. Under his leadership, the gang expanded its control over substance trafficking, extortion, and a brutal war against a rival gang, the Rock Machine. This conflict, known as the Quebec Biker War, was a bloody battle for control of the drug trade. It involved bombings, shootings, and the loss of lives. In 1997, Boucher made headlines when he ordered the hit on 2 prison guards to send a message to law enforcement. Boucher was the head of an elite chapter of the Hells Angels. Everyone knew Boucher was a killer, and he knew everyone knew. His reign of terror ended in 2002 when he was convicted of taking people's lives and sentenced to life in prison without parole for 25 years. While behind bars, his health worsened, and he battled cancer. On July 20th, 2022, Maurice Boucher died at the age of 69 from throat cancer. Boucher remains one of the most infamous figures in Canadian biker history. He is remembered as a ruthless leader and a symbol of the violent and lawless world of outlaw biker gangs. Now moving on, let's dive into the story of another man who became powerful in the Hells Angels by taking things to a whole new level. Who is this man? Well, let's find out. Number 10. The Mad Bomber. In the late 1960s, Yves Apache Trudeau joined the Popeye Motorcycle Club, which later became part of the Hells Angels in Quebec. By 1977, he was one of the founding members of the Hells Angels Quebec chapter and quickly gained a reputation as a ruthless enforcer. Trudeau started out working at a chemical company, but found the job boring. Seeking more excitement, he fully embraced the dangerous world of the Hells Angels, becoming one of their most feared and violent members. He was deeply involved in several biker wars, including conflicts with the Devil's Disciples and Satan's Choice. He was especially known for using bombs and guns to take out rivals, earning him the nickname the Mad Bomber. His brutal methods left a long trail of deaths behind him. By 1985, Trudeau was addicted to drugs and had a warrant on his head from his gang. Fearing for his life, he became a witness for the Crown. He admitted to taking the lives of 43 people between 1973 and 1985 and pleaded guilty to manslaughter. In return, he got a life sentence but was eligible for parole after 7 years. In 1994, he was released and given a new identity, Denis Cote. However, he couldn't stay out of trouble and was convicted of assault in 2004. Trudeau passed away from cancer in July 2008. Although Yves Apache Trudeau's violent rise through the ranks of the Hells Angels left a trail of destruction, his story pales in comparison to the legacy of the next Hell Angel we are about to reveal. Number 9. Sonny Barger. Ralph Hubert Sonny Barger Jr. was among the most well-known figures in outlaw biker history. Sonny Barger was the founding member of the Hells Angels Oakland chapter. Growing up in a tough neighborhood in Oakland, California, he was surrounded by crime and rebellion from a young age. At 19, he founded the Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels in 1957, helping to turn it into one of the most feared and powerful biker clubs in the world. Sonny Barger was more than just a member. He was a leader. He brought order to the wild world of outlaw bikers, uniting different chapters and expanding the club across North America and Europe. His strong leadership and hunger for power made him both respected and feared within the club. His rise, however, was anything but peaceful. Barger was deeply involved in crime, especially drug trafficking. In 1974, he was convicted of running an illicit drug network and sent to federal prison. He was also caught up in violent battles with rival gangs. In 1988, he was convicted for plotting to bomb the clubhouse of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, part of a long-running turf war. Though he was cleared of being involved in the hit on someone in 1972, his violent nature was well known. Over the years, he was also convicted of racketeering and other crimes. Despite his criminal past, Barger became a public figure. He wrote 5 books about his life as a biker, and even appeared in the TV show Sons of Anarchy, playing a version of himself. This role made him a celebrity, further cementing his image in popular culture. And I mean, I wasn't prior to that. I was one of the original Oakland members. Barger's legacy is complicated. His leadership made the Hells Angels a dominant force, but his name was also tied to violence and crime. Even as his health declined, he remained a symbol of the outlaw biker lifestyle. He passed away on June 29, 2022, at 83, marking the end of an era. Though he is gone, the impact of his leadership and the fear he inspired still linger. Moving on from his era, let's enter the chilling world of Adam Lee Hall, whose violent actions took the club's criminal activities to an even darker place. Number 8. Adam Lee Hall. This name is tied to one of the most brutal crimes in recent Hells Angels history. Growing up in a tough environment, Hall was drawn to crime early on. His path eventually led him to the notorious Hells Angels motorcycle club, where he became a key member of the Springfield, Massachusetts chapter. Hall was involved in many crimes, but the one that made him infamous was a shocking triple hit in 2011. The victims, David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell, were taken out after Hall and his gang suspected them of being informants. The men were shot and dismembered, and their remains were dumped in the woods, making the crime even more horrifying. Hall's planning and execution of the hits showed a level of cruelty that shocked even hardened criminals. After a long investigation, Hall was arrested in 2013. His 2014 trial revealed the full extent of his violent nature. We're murdering a Pittsfield. The judge has now taken the stand, and so let's listen in to Camden Superior Court. He was convicted of all 3 crimes against life and